Let's start right at 7. Well, good evening. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Common Council for Monday, January 18th. If you please press your I and confirm buttons.
$11 are present, Your Honor.
Okay, great. With that, if you'd please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing for the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Heavenly Father, tonight we pray for the leaders of this community and of this country. As we face challenging times and situations both locally and nationally, let us always be mindful to turn to you in times of decision making. Today we celebrate and honor a man, a leader of nonviolent campaigns, Dr. Martin Luther King. He believed that the most powerful method of achieving peace and social justice was to create a society based on compassion, justice, peace, and brotherhood. Help all of us here tonight, gathered in these chambers, use that hope and determination and courage to make our world a better place. Help us help each other as we work to do your will and lift the lives of those who call Green Bay home. Continue to bless our military personnel, especially those serving on the USS Green Bay. We ask this in your name. Amen. All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion for approval of the minutes of the... There's a motion by Alderman Tom DeWayne, second by Alderman Joe Moore, to approve the minutes of the December 15th meeting. Any corrections, anything you want to address here? Seeing no lights, all in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it, and the minutes of the December 15th meeting have been approved. I'll now entertain a motion to approve the agenda. All right, we have a motion by Alderman Jerry Wisbiski, second by Alderman Randy Scannell, to approve the agenda. Anything you want to look at differently here? Seeing no lights, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it, and the agenda before you has been approved.
Report by the mayor.
Okay, I just really have one thing, I guess two. First, I want to welcome our guests, especially the leadership of the Village of Hobart, and we look forward to your presentation and discussion with you later in this meeting. The one item I just want to reiterate to you is that, as you know, we've hired a new police chief, Chief Smith, and I know he bought a home on the east side, and I think he's going to be moving in next week. But most important, he's going to be sworn in these chambers on February 1st at 10 a.m. And he's got some family that's got to catch an earlier flight, so it's at 10 a.m., that's the time that he chose, and we're going to support. So it's going to be a nice ceremony here at City Council Chambers, February 1st. And once that's completed, there'll be a small reception here at City Hall following that event. So I just welcome all of you to join Chief Smith and his swearing in on February 1st at 10 a.m. And that concludes my report.
We're on to announcements.
Are there any announcements from the council members? We'll start with Alderman Brian Danziger.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a couple quick announcements. First of all, I'm sure we all recall the snow event that occurred at the latter part of December. I just wanted to acknowledge the efforts of the Department of Public Works on their great job they did for not only clearing out the streets, but their consistent work with going back to the neighborhoods and obviously maintaining the primary routes throughout the city. I'm sure as council members we are fully aware of the calls we typically get when we have major snow events like that. And from the feedback that I had heard, according to Mr. Moore, in fact, one person even said they came through too many times on one street. So not that we want to make that the official record, but again, well done. Long story, right. Sorry, Mr. Moore. Secondly, then, too, the Bay Area Community Council is looking to increase voter turnout by 5% this year. One of the things we will be doing is video recording all of the candidates who will be running for local office this year. So anyone that is interested in a 2-minute video, we will be giving all candidates the same 4 questions. We will be recording that, posting that online. You can link to it however you'd like. But again, we're trying to do our best to connect people to the local candidates. We have all said this numerous times that your local city officials and public servants are really your closest connection to your day-to-day lives. So we want to make sure you're aware of who is running, make sure that you are connected with them, and are aware of where they stand on certain issues. So for all the candidates, of course, if anybody is interested in participating in these recordings, there is no fee for that. All material is yours. You can use it however you would like. Please contact me, and we will schedule and coordinate a video session. So that's open to anybody, both incumbents as well as anybody running. So thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, Alderman. Anything else on announcements? Okay, Clerk.
We're on to public hearings. Zoning ordinance number 12-15, an ordinance rezoning portions of 1905 and 1911 Main Street from General Commercial District to Highway Commercial District. And zoning ordinance number 13-15, an ordinance amending zoning ordinance number 1-91 to change the land use designation for property located in the 2350 block of East Mason Street from exclusive office entertainment to light manufacturing.
All right, is there anyone here tonight who would like to speak to either of these 2 items under the public hearing? Is there anyone wishing to be heard? Anyone? All right, we'll let the record show that no one came forward.
You may, under suspension of the rules, take up items 26 and 27 with a roll call vote.
All right, we have a motion by Alderman Randy Scannell, second by Alderman Tom DeWayne to suspend the rules for that purpose. All in favor of suspension, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it. The rules are now suspended. Motion to adopt by Alderman Joe Moore and seconded by Alderman Randy Scannell. If you'd please use the board on this. This is 26 and 27. All right, and those pass unanimously. Thank you.
We're on to appointments, new appointments, to hold the appointment for the Green Bay Plan Commission, and for the Historic Preservation Commission, Patricia Olson.
All right, there's a motion by Alderman Joe Moore, seconded by Alderman Tim DeWayne to approve the new appointment of Patricia Olson to the Historic Preservation Committee. Discussion here. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it, and I thank you for that.
Reappointments, Transit Commission, Roger Kolb, On Broadway Business Improvement District Board, Chad Van Handel, Adam Funk, Downtown Business Improvement District Board, Rick Chernick, Daniel Young, and Room Tax Commission, Martin Weber.
Move to approve.
All right, there's a motion by Alderman Tom DeWayne, second by Alderman Randy Scannell to approve the reappointments as stated by the clerk. Any discussion here? Seeing no lights, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it, and they thank you, and so do I.
Your Honor, there's a Randy Gardier for Green Bay Planning Commission.
Yep.
Is there a reason why we...
Yeah, we're held up. Yeah, we're working through some things with that, so we'll probably see that. Okay.
We're on to referral of petitions and communications. On page 1 of your packet, you have all petitions and communications received by the clerk's office by noon on Thursday. We will now accept any late communications you may have.
All right, we'll begin with Alderman Tim DeWayne.
Thank you, Your Honor. This one goes to Protection and Welfare to request to draft an ordinance policy regarding weapons on city property. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Alderman Chris Weary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have one for Finance and the IT Department to live stream City Council meetings. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Randy Scannell.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have one also for IT. To video all forums and debates in the upcoming council races to be played on our TV4, city website, and YouTube.
All right, thank you. Alderman Mark Stoyer.
Thank you, Mayor. This is for traffic. I would like to look into the costs of potentially having 30-second public service announcements either on the radio or on television for safety, whether it's pedestrian, biking, walking. I'd like to see something like that and just look at costs.
All right, thank you. Anything else? Okay, Chris, do you have any late communications?
No, I do not.
All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion to refer all. All right, there's a motion by Alderman Randy Scannell, second by Alderman David Nenning to refer all petitions and communications to the proper authorities. All in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye. And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it, and all petitions and communications have been referred.
Reports for council action. Report of the Park Committee.
All right, there's a motion by Alderman Jerry Wisbiski, seconded by Alderman Tim DeWayne to approve the report of the Park Committee for the meeting held on Wednesday, January 13th. Any items in this report you wish to handle separately? Hearing none, all in favor of that report, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it, and that report's been approved.
Report of the Economic Development Authority.
All right, there's a motion by Alderman Wisbiski, seconded by Alderman Randy Scannell to approve the report of the Economic Development Authority meeting, which was held on Wednesday, January 13th. Any items under this report you wish to handle separately? Seeing no lights, all in favor of that report, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it, and that report's been approved.
Report of the Plan Commission.
All right, there's a motion by Alderman Tom DeWayne, second by Alderman Jerry Wisbiski to approve the report of the Green Bay Plan Commission was for the meeting held on Monday, January 11th. Are there any items in this report you wish to handle separately? Hearing none, all in favor of that report, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. Ayes have it, and that report has been approved.
Report of the Redevelopment Authority.
There's a motion by Alderman Wisbiski, second by Alderman Joe Moore to approve the report of the Green Bay Redevelopment Authority. That was for the meeting held on Tuesday, January 12th. While this is an informational item, I'd still ask for your approval of this. Anybody want to discuss this item? It's a good thing for us. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it, and that report has been approved.
Report of the Traffic Commission.
All right, there's a motion by Alderman Randy Scannell, seconded by Alderman Jerry Wisbiski to approve the report of the Traffic Commission, and that was for the meeting held on Monday, January 11th. Are there any items in this report you wish to handle separately? Hearing none, all in favor of that report, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it, and that report has been approved.
Report of the Finance Committee.
All right, there's a motion by Alderman Tom DeWayne, seconded by Alderman Randy Scannell to approve the report of the Finance Committee, and that was for the meeting held on Tuesday, January 12th. Are there any items in this report you wish to handle separately? Hearing none, all in favor of that report, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it, and that report has been approved.
Report of the Improvement and Service Committee.
All right, there's a motion by Alderman Wisbiski, seconded by Alderman Randy Scannell to approve the report of the Improvement and Service Committee for the meeting held on January 13th. Are there any items in this report you wish to handle separately? Okay. Let's just wait. Let's just pull number 5. Any others? Okay, hearing none others, all in favor of the remainder of that report, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it. All items have been approved with the exception of item 5. What are your wishes regarding item 5? Motion to approve by Alderman Wisbiski, seconded by Alderman Randy Scannell, Alderman Tim DeWayne. Item 5.
At the committee level, Your Honor, thank you. We were going to hold this for 1 month. I just want to get this approved as of today, so it doesn't go on any further.
We're on INS. This is
Oh, we're on INS. My apologies. I thought we were on INS.
We are. The item 5 is to place on hold until the next INS Service Committee meeting. The request by Alderman Tim DeWayne to consider a reuse day 4 times a year. That's going to be discussed at the next INS meeting.
My fault. I thought we were on finance yet. Just
Okay.
continue.
All right. So we have a motion and a second to approve item 5. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it. Item 5 has been approved.
Report of the Personnel Committee.
All right, there's a motion by Alderman Wisbiski, seconded by Alderman Mark Stoyer to approve the report of the Personnel Committee. That was for the meeting held on Tuesday, January 12th. Any items under this report you wish to handle separately? Hearing none, all in favor of that report, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it. That report has been approved.
Report of the Protection and Welfare Committee.
All right, there's a motion by Alderman Randy Scannell, seconded by Alderman Jerry Wisbiski to approve the report of the Protection and Welfare Committee for the meeting held on Tuesday, January 12th. Any items under this report you wish to handle separately? Hearing none, all in favor of that report, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it. That report's been approved.
To approve the report of the Protection and Welfare Committee granting operator licenses with the exception of Thomas E. Davis and Mary J. Kamenecki
All right, we have a motion by Alderman Wisbiski, seconded by Alderman Randy Scannell to approve the report of the Protection and Welfare Committee. All those operating licenses listed before you with the two exceptions as stated by the clerk. Are there any items under, any other members under this report you wish to not approve or abstain from?
I would like to abstain from that.
Okay. Everybody else is just abstaining.
The whole thing?
Okay, seeing no others, hearing no others, all in favor of this report, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it. Noting Alderman Dazinger's abstention.
Receive and place on file municipal court reports for November and December 2015 and building permit report for December 2015.
We have a motion by Alderman Zima, second by Alderman Weary to receive and place on file the two reports as stated by the clerk. Discussion here. All in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it. Those two reports have been received and placed on file.
We're under resolutions. You may under suspension of the rules adopt resolutions 12 through 19 together with one roll call vote.
All right, we have a motion by Alderman Wisbiski, seconded by Alderman Randy Scannell to suspend the rules for the purposes stated by the clerk. All in favor of suspension, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it. The rules are suspended. Entertain a motion to adopt. Motion to adopt by Alderman Randy Scannell, seconded by Alderman Tom Dwayne. If you'd please use the board. This is your resolutions 12 through 19. Yes. Okay, Alderman Moore wanted to pull 19, so what we're doing is we suspended the rules and we'll take up resolutions 12 through 18. Can you change that on there? This is resolutions 12 through 18.
Do you want me to cancel and start over?
No, just as long as they know that.
Okay.
Okay, and those have been approved with unanimous vote. Thank you. What are your wishes regarding resolution 19? All right, there's a motion and a second to approve item 19. Alderman Moore?
Thanks, Your Honor. Although I support the Historical Preservation Society, Commission as an advisory committee, I think that what this bill prevents is government overreach, protects personal property rights. And my worry is that if this bill was not to go through and government was able to tell people what they can and cannot do with an iron fist, this will cause a lot of these properties then to not be purchased, not be maintained, and we may actually, it's a two-edged sword here. I just agree with this. I support the bill, and I'm going to vote against it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, so any other discussion? Here we go. Alderman Mark Stoyer.
Thank you, Your Honor. Alderman Moore, I appreciate your insights on this. It really comes down to the fact is that we do have an advisory ordinance in Green Bay. We are looking to get certified local government status in this community. There's 67 other communities that have this throughout the state of Wisconsin. Granted, this bill really comes down to individual rights versus the rights of a district. It's actually a zoning type issue. And my contention is if this zoning is not correct, I mean, we could do away with zoning in a planning sense as well. So it's just another layer of zoning. Right now, unless you're on a national register list, you can take your house down if you'd like. You can change that. There's no federal monies to do that, but right now, as an advisory ordinance, we have folks can come before us and we can give them advice. This bill came forward, and there are many communities that are opposing this on some of the merits that I've brought forward. Like I said, it really comes down to what you believe. Is it individual property rights versus the rights of a historic district? So, and I appreciate your comments on that as well, but I do support this resolution. Thank you.
Okay, Alderman Andy Nicholson.
Thank you, Mayor. Could someone explain this?
Kevin, do you want to do that, or do you? Who wants to take this up? Alderman Stoyer, I know you've been at the meetings. Alderman Stoyer, do you want to tell us what this is all about?
All right. Each of the alders did get a memo in their packet, if you had a chance to peek at it. And it more or less just goes through some of the language of Assembly Bill 568 and Senate Bill 445. And it's more or less, there's supporting statements that I put on here. I mean, do you want me to read the whole thing? I mean, I
No,
don't know.
he received that. He just wants to know a synopsis of this. The Assembly bill and the Senate bill, what are they asking for in terms of the historic preservation? And what?
Right, there's 5 lines here that are basically that our Historic Preservation Commission is opposing. And you can see it's under 20 section 4, 62.23, subparagraph 7 EM. It says a city may not designate a property as a historic landmark without the consent of the owner. A city may not require or prohibit any action by an owner of a property related to the preservation of special character, historic or aesthetic interest, or any other significant value of the property without the consent of the owner. And like I told Alderman Moore, it really comes down to individual rights versus the rights of a district. Then again, you would have to put the trust in the person that's working on their home. Let's say somebody decides, hey, I like the home the way I have it. I will restore it. I will do it. I'll bring it up to code. I will make it a beautiful entity in the neighborhood. And the person next door could say, no, I can put an addition on and have it as a rental unit or what have you. So it's a matter of aesthetics in some respects. It is a historic preservation ordinance has zoning overlays to it. It has a zoning contingent to it. And it really comes down to, do you believe that zoning is an important element of historic preservation? And we say it is. So we're just more or less stating that with the language that is there, we're hoping that the Assembly bill and the Senate bill will change to the point where there will be some, and like I said, anytime you have an ordinance, there is a little bit of restriction. But we're stating that we feel that the rights of the individual are important, but we're feeling that a historic district or the character of a neighborhood are important as well. So it really comes down to individual rights versus the rights of a neighborhood. Does that help? You're rolling your eyeballs.
Okay, maybe I can help you with that.
Joe Moore, just can you explain why you're voting against this?
Absolutely. Sure. Well, that's not a problem. And Alderman Stoyer had actually brought up those 5 lines. If you were to take the word not out of those lines, which is what this bill, which opposing this bill does, it takes the word not out of these lines. It would then read, a city may designate a property as a historic landmark without the consent of the owner. A city may require or prohibit any action by an owner of a property related to the preservation, special character, aesthetic interest, without the consent of the owner. That is why I oppose this. I don't believe the city needs to have that power. Thank you.
Again, I probably want to talk to Tim Dwayne, but I live in a historic neighborhood, and we think we know what we're doing in our neighborhood, and really don't need government telling us what to do. But you got to talk to Tim; he knocks on more doors than me. But this is not the first time this has come before this body.
So, Mayor, with that, you don't,
He does not support
you do not support this, Mayor, correct?
Not the way it's written, no.
Okay, all right.
I think Alderman Stoyer kind of laid it out. We have an advisory. So Don and I did a lot of work on our house last year, and we went to the Historic Advisory Council, which Mark Stoyer's on, Dave Boyce, and told them what we would like to do with our house. And they, under this bill, they would have had the authority, and we put in bigger windows than they recommended, and because it didn't really, the integrity of the house was built with very small windows on the 3rd floor, and we wanted to put in bigger windows. So,
Okay, as a property owner, you wanted something different than what?
but I appreciated their advice, and we did make some changes based on their advice, but it wasn't what's the word I'm looking for? It wasn't the authority of the government.
I understand.
to tell us. Alderman Tim Dwayne, or who had the floor? You're done?
I'm done. Everything's clear.
Okay. Alderman Tim Dwayne?
Thank you, Your Honor, for your kind words. I too oppose this. I think this just gives the resident less power to do what he wants with his house. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Dave Nenning?
Thank you, Your Honor. I think there is a little bit of confusion here because currently the Historic Preservation Commission has advisory authorities, and there has been discussion about creating a certified local government, and as I understand it, they're drafting an ordinance with the city attorney's office that they would bring back at a later date. And it seems to me at that time we could discuss what amount of authority the city wants to have and how we may want to exercise that authority. In any event, even if a certified local government status was approved, a homeowner could always disagree with their decision and appeal it to this council, which would have the final say. I see this legislation as taking away local authority to decide what is best for a specific community. And I'm not saying that in every case Big Brother ought to come down and tell property owners that this is how you have to do it or else. But personally, I think that local governments can handle this authority, can make reasonable decisions based on the circumstances in their community and the neighborhoods. So on that basis, I support this resolution opposing that legislation.
Thank you. Alderman Chris Weary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I support the resolution as well for many of the reasons that Alderman Stoyer mentioned. I think it does remove the ability of a city, village, or town to really allow itself to protect its history. Let them determine for themselves how aggressively they want to protect their history. Some might not care at all and let it really up to the homeowner, which might work out and it might not. Other towns we see, other villages, cities really aggressively say, hey, we want to preserve our history. And if you buy a home there, that you might have to follow certain guidelines. It at least allows everybody to determine how they want to go, and I don't think we should remove that, so I'm in favor of it.
Alderman Randy Scannell.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, I too support it. I think an aspect of this that hasn't been brought up is that it is taking away local government control. And when we talk about local government, we're talking about we the people. I mean, it's not Big Brother. And it protects us from a developer, from someone outside the city, outside the state, coming in, buying up property, no matter what its value, how we view it historically, and doing whatever they want with it. So it does disempower us from, as Alderman Weary said, protecting our heritage if that's what we want. It takes away our ability to take any control or have any say about this. So I understand how, I'm pro-development. I want to see development, and I understand how this can get in the way of some development, but I don't see it as a positive. I think it's important that we have a say in our local heritage, not only from any member within our community, but outside our community that may come in. So I do support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Tom Slottick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with the speakers that said this is a matter of local control and the state government trying to preempt local control. This does not, just to be clear, this does not empower us to make property owners do things. We would have to pass separate ordinances to do that. And I am a property rights advocate, and that won't go down easily with me. So I suspect we would have a lot of debate over that. But I do think that should be our debate, and I don't think the state should preempt us from being able to explore that. So I support the resolution.
Okay. Story, did you want to speak again on this? Okay.
I think one of the things that I didn't mention was that if this Assembly bill and Senate bill does go through, it will in effect take away the Historic Preservation Commission. It'll take away that group to be able to advise or do anything for anybody. So, like I said, I agree with Alderman Slatic. We will have this discussion at another time when we talk about the ordinance itself. In order to become a certified local government, you need a mandatory ordinance. And I know that there will be some pushback, but I think if we bring it forward, in fact, tonight our Historic Preservation Committee is meeting in Astor at their neighborhood association meeting talking about this. So it really comes down to the citizens. If the citizens want this, they'll go for it. If they don't want it, that's fine. I'm not going to lose sleep one way or the other. I've been fighting this fight for over 30 years in various ways. So I feel it is important. But then again, we need to let the people speak, and they will have their opportunity to do that. But I just wanted to state that if this Assembly bill does go through, in effect, our Historic Preservation Commission will no longer exist. At least that's what I feel.
All right, thank you. Alderman Nenny? Dave, did you have any? Okay. Do you want to speak again? Okay. So I see no other lights. The motion, the second on the floor, is to support the resolution opposing the Assembly bill. Are we clear on what we're voting on? I'm not sure I am anymore, but okay. So all in favor of that resolution, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nay. All right, the ayes have it. That's been approved. Okay, clerk. No. Oh, all right. Well, let's use the board on that. This is Resolution 19, opposing the Assembly bill. And that passes by a vote of 9-3. Thank you. Okay, Chris.
Ordinances first reading. You may under suspension of the rules advance ordinances 20 through 22 to a third reading.
All right, there's a motion by Alderman, Tom DeWayne, seconded by Alderman Chris Weary, to advance those three ordinances to the third reading. Any discussion here? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it, and that motion has been approved.
Did we advance it?
Right.
Ordinances third reading. You may under suspension of the rules adopt ordinances 23 through 25 together with one roll call vote.
All right, there's a motion to suspend the rules. Okay. There's a motion to suspend the rules to take items 24 and 25 under one roll call vote. All in favor of suspension, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nay. All right, we are a motion to adopt. There's a motion by Alderman Randy Scannell, second by Alderman Jerry Wisbiski to adopt item 24, 25. If you'd please use the board on this. All right. All right, and that passes unanimously. And what are your wishes regarding item 23? Motion to approve by Alderman Tom Slatic, seconded by Alderman Randy Scannell. Alderman Zima.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm absolutely opposed to this enabling legislation here that really creates a code that applies only to aldermen and no one else. Places aldermen in judgment of other aldermen, which is, at the very least, awkward. And I think gives unconstitutional authority to the Common Council to lay in judgment of fellow aldermen. Not something that's going to lead to respect and cooperation. And it puts the city at risk of creating a code that has no precedence literally in the entire U.S. of A. This thing was cobbled together by oddball ordinances from 3 different cities, as I understand, from not one was even in the state of Wisconsin. And it could end in costing the city a lot of money, as the constitutionality of the code is, in my opinion, extremely doubtful. But this thing has been pushed through by the powers that be, but I am not going to put my name behind this in any shape, form, or manner, and I urge my fellow councilmen to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. With that, we have a motion and a second to approve item 23. If you please use the board. All right, and that passes by a vote of 9-3. Okay, clerk.
Committee of the Whole to review and discuss with possible action the negotiations regarding the Oneida Tribe Service Agreement.
Well, as we've been discussing along the way here at the Green Bay City Council, we have the service agreement with the Oneida Tribe, and it's up for review, and we've made some decisions here to revisit that. Under the direction of the council, you had asked our staff to reach out to the village of Hobart and to share with us some of their thoughts regarding the service agreement. And they were kind enough to be here tonight. We had also invited the Oneida Tribe, and they have given us a couple days that I'm going to talk to you about that may work for us. It just doesn't work with a structured meeting schedule on a 7 p.m. For the next 2 or 3 weeks, but I'll get back to you with some more information on that this week. But I do want to welcome the village of Hobart. I think we all know Rich Heidel and, of course, Andrew, their city manager. And we appreciate you coming out here to share some of your thoughts with us. And again, this was just to review and discuss your relationship with the Oneidas regarding the Oneida Tribal Service Agreement. What, Rich, we had talked to you about, and I know Alderman Slottick has been a leader on this, along with Alderman Nenning, to talk to us in open session and what you can hear. And if something does go into negotiating, the council, it is on the agenda, and we have the authority to move into closed session. But before that, we sure welcome you. And if you want to come up to the podium, all three of you, or just you, Rich, and we appreciate you being a good sister community and sharing some thoughts with us. I'm going to put his mic on and just hit the video.
Thank you, Mayor Schmidt and Common Council Alderman for this opportunity to share our history and experiences with the Oneida Tribe. I have a handout packet for each individual. May I?
Yeah, we can do that for you.
Thank you, Mark. While Mark is, or Alderman Stoyer is handing those out, again, I would like to thank all of you for the opportunity to address this body. I'm very protective of your time and of our time with you. So for that reason, if you'll indulge me, I will refer to and read off my notes, and you'll appreciate that. This is really a leash. Without these, I would be in front of you tonight for hours. But it certainly won't be that long. I am joined this evening, and I would ask them to please rise when I introduce them. But I'm joined this evening by 3 of our 9 Tribal Affairs team members. They are Hobart Village Trustee Dave Dillenberg, Hobart Village Administrator Andrew Vickers, and Hobart's legal counsel Frank Kowalkowski of the Davis and Keelthaw Law Firm here in Green Bay. I'll provide a history of our experience in Hobart, and then Andrew will provide you with a short summary of financial and practical considerations in delivering municipal services. After these 2 presentations, mine and Andrew's, which together should take no more than 15 minutes, we can entertain questions. Our intention is to be as helpful and as disclosive for you as possible this evening. We want to be nothing less than helpful for you. With that in mind, and in our effort to disclose as much as we can, and if it should please the mayor and the Common Council, Attorney Frank Kowalkowski will provide insight on legal theories and jurisdictional issues for you in closed session. After his presentation, Frank and the rest of us can then again entertain questions from the council. Our presentation tonight concerns itself with Oneida tribal government, not with Oneida tribal members. We do not paint with a broad brush. There are many examples of tribal members who individually hold opinions differently than their leaders, and of tribal members who individually approach me or others in Hobart Village government with various grievances and issues that they want addressed, but for different reasons don't feel comfortable taking them to their own tribal government. Beyond that, there are examples of cooperative relationships between Hobart and the Oneida tribe. For example, our two police departments maintain a very professional, effective, and cooperative relationship, while our zoning and permitting activities are typically without issue. With that caveat having been made, I will start by stating that the situation in Hobart, indeed in over 1,000 other municipalities in our nation, is one where an irreconcilable difference exists between two governments and what each government perceives their obligations to be. My experience in dealing with the Oneida Tribe of Indians has evolved over the last 13 years. After prevailing in the state's first successful recall of a village president in 2003, I believed that the tribe was misunderstood and that my predecessor was unwilling to work with them. We therefore executed a first ever service agreement between Hobart and the Oneida tribe in the fall of 2004. Like Green Bay's agreement, our agreement prohibited us from contesting tribal fee-to-trust applications. For a few years prior to the agreement, the tribe had not applied to put significant acreage or parcels of tribally owned land into federal trust, and stated that, despite the agreement's prohibition, the tribe had no intention of doing so in the near future anyway. However, I was soon disappointed with how the tribe used this agreement at cross purposes to their stated intentions. Within months, the tribe applied for significant tracts of land to be placed into federal trust. They used the agreement to persuade the Bureau of Indian Affairs, the BIA, that all was well back home in Wisconsin, and there'd be no problem with local government if this land were to go into trust. Despite my disappointment and anger, the fact was that we had an agreement, and Hobart would not be the party to breach that agreement. 1 year later, the second annual service agreement payment was inexplicably and significantly delinquent. As far as I was concerned at that point, the tribe had breached the agreement, and we filed our first objection to land going into federal trust. The agreement's term was for 3 years, and the tribe was interested in negotiating for a renewal of the agreement. We were only interested in renewal if the service agreement were to be nothing more than an identification of the services provided, an agreed-upon approach to quantifying their cost, and the tribe's agreement to pay. After all, any annual pilot or payment in lieu of taxes, tribal or otherwise, should consist of nothing more than the calculated cost of services. It does not in any way reimburse the municipality for its self-imposed prohibition against contesting trust land applications, or in Green Bay's case, for the complete surrender of city jurisdiction on all tribal property, even if it's not in trust. That was our approach in 2006 and still is today. In other words, a service agreement should be nothing more but a calculated invoice for services rendered. Period, paragraph. Nothing else can be, should be, or will be negotiated or quantified. Trustee Dillenberg was one of our negotiators when we were threatened by the tribe's chief legal counsel that the village of Hobart had better prepare itself for extinction. That's a direct verbatim quote. Despite the tribe's best efforts to deliver on that promise, by applying for trust status on an additional 1,600 acres in Hobart between 2008 and now, there has not been a single parcel, not a single parcel of land successfully placed into trust since 2008. Negotiations between the village and the tribe soon ended. Since then, we have been unencumbered in any way with dispatching our municipal responsibilities, asserting our jurisdiction and authority, and securing the best interests of all of our taxpayers, tribal and non-tribal alike. 2 points need to be made about land going into trust. The first point is that local governments will typically oppose annexation by an adjacent municipality. However, if the annexation is successful and goes through, the diminished local government at least no longer has the obligation to provide services to those residents in the annexed area that it once did. Not so with federal trust land. Land going into trust is virtually annexed by the federal government, but the diminished local government must still provide services. It's a double whammy. If a local government were to fight annexation with tooth and nail, it would logically, therefore, or it should logically, therefore, fight land going into trust by tooth and nail and fang and kicking and screaming and in any other manner. Additionally, when city government agrees not to oppose land going into federal trust, the impact is not just on the city. It's also on the school districts and on the entire county. It's a loss of tax base for everyone. But these are only the economic ramifications of losing tax base. The second point about land going into trust is even more important. And I'll try my best, but I'm not sure that I can articulate it as effectively as it needs to be. It has to do with your responsibilities as elected officials. Local governments, county governments, and state governments have absolutely no trust relationship with any of the 562 federally recognized Indian tribes throughout the nation. The federal government is the only level of government that has any obligation to an Indian tribe. The city of Green Bay has no obligation to the Oneida tribe, but has every obligation to its individual and corporate constituents. More than loss of tax base, there is the loss of zoning enforcement, the loss of control over public safety matters, the loss of infrastructure and economic development planning, In short, it flies in the face of sound and prudent public policy. Among other reasons, we have been elected. One is to protect our tax base and all of our taxpayers, both tribal and non-tribal alike. It's more than our right to do so. It's our sworn oath and duty. It goes right to the heart of American representative democratic government. It's not an option for us to even consider abrogating our responsibilities and duties as elected officials, as elected representatives, by walking away from our constituents in order to accommodate a private tribal entity which establishes itself more like a corporation than as a local government. It is ultimately a betrayal of the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. In summary, our responsibilities as elected officials and our reverence for the constitutional underpinnings trump the tribe's money all day long, any day of the year. And as a result, neither the tribe nor the federal government has any undue or inappropriate leverage with us as a duly constituted local municipal government. I would again like to thank you for your time and attention and hope that you find the presentation this evening helpful. As previously mentioned, at this time, I will now ask Hobart Village Administrator Andrew Vickers to present his portion of the presentation, after which we can entertain any questions you may have. Thank you. Andrew.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'll admit right off the bat, I'm a little less passionate of a speaker than Rich. No less factual, though. My name's Andrew Vickers. I've been the village administrator in Hobart for about 8 years now, and I think that's important because I have seen some of the public policy of the village play itself out and be successful. And that's really what we're hoping you get out of the presentations this evening, and that is public policy alternatives that are available to you, that are being employed successfully, not by a community out west or a community out east, but by your sister city, as you put it earlier, Mayor, a bordering city to you, right in your backyard. So with that, again, I wanted to provide you some alternatives of and some information about on-the-ground governance here, and specifically addressing two of the provisions in the current city service agreement with the tribe. The first one being the current agreement really defines tribal land, what we would feel too broadly, and we'd caution you. And really makes no distinction between fee and trust land. Alternatively, in the village of Hobart, the position we've taken for many years now is a uniformity of village ordinances and policies. We treat all fee properties in the village of Hobart the same, no differently depending on the occupant of the fee property. Now, admittedly so, there's less jurisdiction, probably not as much, not as little jurisdiction as you'd think on trust property, and Frank will get into that a little bit later. But on all fee properties, the village applies ordinances. That includes zoning, that includes nuisance abatement, and we're successful in doing so. To the tribe's credit and to the individual tribal members, they've complied. And we feel that if there were a legal basis for that non-compliance, that we would have heard about that already, because for the better part of a decade, we've been applying all ordinances the same to fee properties. So just, encourage you to look at the alternatives that we've employed successfully on how we apply our ordinances to fee and trust property. Two specific examples: garbage and recycling. We, like most communities, levy a special charge on our property tax bill for garbage and recycling collection. We've established an ordinance that says all fee properties in the village shall be provided the opportunity to have the service and shall be charged. The tribe, certain tribal members, as it is the case in Green Bay, I believe, have their own tribal garbage collection service. That's fine. They are still charged for the garbage recycling, and they still have garbage bins and, still have collection on a regular basis from the village. We're, as a local government similar to the city, we can't stop any residents from contracting for any services they want on their property. Another example, probably a more prescient example, would be the application of stormwater management utility fees. You probably heard we had a long litigation with the tribe on stormwater management fees over trust parcels. Interestingly, early on in that litigation, the tribe had efforted that the fees were, unlawful on both fee and trust parcels. They later dropped the fee component of that and just focused it on their trust parcel. So if there's any evidence, that the law is on our side and the legal basis that we have is sound, I'd encourage you to look at those couple of examples. Lastly, I think maybe most importantly, given some of the circumstances the city may be dealing with, nuisance abatement. We have a neighborhood services department. When we're encountered with a nuisance in a neighborhood, we run through our normal channels for compliance, including a letter, and if necessary, all the way to municipal court. That process plays itself out on all fee properties in the village, regardless of occupant. The second thing, and as you heard Rich talk about, and very obviously important to the village of Hobart, is fee to trust, maybe more so than other communities. Again, to reiterate, since 2008, the village has been the tribe has thrust upon an application for some 2,900 acres of trust applications, and we've successfully objected. Frank's going to mention a little bit later on why we're successful in doing so to those 3,000. That is a huge financial benefit to the village and all of the taxing entities. I want to draw your attention to a chart I put together. And we do not want to distill this discussion and this service agreement and your future decision making down to a financial consideration. But as elected officials and staff, we have to look at the financial ramifications. So on page 2 of the handout, just the trust parcels that have been applied for since 2009, those roughly 2,900, which we've successfully thwarted and that have been vacated by the federal government, it amounts to $1.5 million of tax base we've preserved. And that's not just the village of Hobart, that's the school districts that we're serviced by 2, Pulaski and West Appear. That's the state, county, NWTC, and you guys know the drill on the overlying taxing entities. I'd also add that this is revenue in perpetuity. So as long as we continue to successfully object, we all benefit from this revenue. The last piece, one other question I should address before I move away from the the financial considerations that you have. Some of you are probably thinking, okay, how much does it cost you to contest these things? What are your legal fees, right, Hobart? You always hear about this. You don't ever hear about the tribal member or the tribal government securing a building permit from the village or the nuisance we abated that week. But you do hear about the legal fees and the litigation. We've been begging Frank to work for free, and we still haven't quite turned that corner. If we find somebody as talented and free, maybe we'll move away from Frank, but we haven't found that individual yet. So yes, there is a consideration in terms of legal fees that when you contest these, but it pales in comparison to the tax base we're talking about here, the annual revenue. And I would also add that the initial objections to the fee to trust are not beyond the scope of your in-house legal counsel. Another consideration for you. I wanted to end with attempting to wrap kind of these two things up in a bow, and I think we're seeing it across the nation with our experience and our research and our team that we have on our tribal affairs team, and that's, you'll see in your packets a series of maps, okay? That includes fee and trust land owned in the village of Hobart. And as we've talked about, the trust since 2008 has been stifled. But the tribe continues to acquire even hundreds of additional acres from that 2012 map in your packet, land and fee in the village of Hobart. And what we're seeing around the nation is an exertion of, or maybe an attempt to preempt local control, similar to the provision in your service agreement that I've mentioned, on fee property as communities and as the law, Supreme Court rulings are coming down on the side of local governments when it comes to fee to trust applications. So you see what's going on in Hobart. The stated goals of the tribe are to reacquire 75% of their reservation by 2030 or whatever it is they publish. And I also understand that the city of Green Bay is about 14% of the city is former reservation land. So if similarly situated governments like ours are continually successful with fee to trust, what we're going to see is a play being made on the fee property. So those, again, trying to tie that together, those two provisions are something we wanted to let you know there are some public policy alternatives for your consideration. So with that, I will, or Rich will answer any questions if it pleases the mayor. I'll turn it back over to you.
Start with Alderman Zima. Go ahead.
Thank you. Objections, and they're at least for the, how do you collect the money? I mean, the tribe owns the property, so they are continuing to pay their taxes then?
Correct.
And what is the threat? At the end of 3 years, if they didn't pay, they could be taken. Is that the idea? So that's why they keep paying?
Sure. I would say that the status of the land has not changed due to the decision to vacate the initial decisions of fee to trust. So you're right, they get sent the tax bill, and luckily they've obligated themselves to pay the tax bill as the status is still in fee. Certainly, there may be other actions we may take, but you're right. The one being, as we all know, the kind of the 3 years arrearages and that kind of deal. But
that's a good question, Alderman. So the underlying center or the underpinning to our approach on that issue or any other really distills down to a very simple principle by which we operate, and that is, in this case, for example, we treat fee-owned property identically the same across the entire village, whether it's owned by a tribal member, by the tribe itself, or by a non-tribal member. Doesn't matter to us. If they don't pay their taxes, the private process takes over. After 3 years, eventually, push comes to shove, it winds up on public auction, and that's the way it's handled. We make no distinction between owners of simple fee-owned land. That's the way it should be. That's the way it's got to be.
And as you know, Alderman, graciously, the county makes us whole every year. So, in a lot of respects, that's their issue.
So, really, these service agreements then don't come anywhere near matching what you can continue collecting while you're successful in keeping it from going into trust.
Certainly not in our situation. I don't know the exact, finances of or economics of your service agreement, but certainly in our situation, that'd be the case. Yes.
And we've been told that these objections that you've placed and that are in place yet haven't been resolved by the courts yet. Is that correct?
I'd encourage you, Frank, maybe to speak to that a little bit.
Maybe I'm ahead of the presentation here at this point in time.
A little bit. That's okay, though. Good questions, and we hope to answer all of them.
We can address that during Frank's presentation.
Okay, well, I'll withhold my questions till then. Thank you.
Alderman Stoyer.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Andrew and Richard, for coming in. Did you state as far as what percentage of Hobart is in trust land and or fee as far as your entire community? Is there a percentage that you have?
That chart, Frank?
Just roughly? I saw the map, but I was just wondering if you had some kind of a, if that's in your presentation, I can wait.
I'll ultimately defer to Frank's
Okay,
data.
that's
He
fine.
comes up with it, but to give you an idea, the landmass in Hobart is comprised of roughly 21,000 acres. And the amount of acreage in the entire village that is within federal trust, as an order of magnitude number, I'm going to throw out something like 7%.
About 1,500 acres.
Of 21,000 acres.
Okay.
And that's what would be strictly in
trust?
federal trust. What's owned by the tribe obviously is more than that.
So the fee would be, you don't have a number on that?
I think combined it's nearly a quarter of fee and trust, with the trust being 7 to 10% in that.
That was my understanding.
Okay.
I'd say roll 20%.
Yep.
Andrew, did you state what the amount of your service agreement is at this time, monetarily?
We currently we have not had a service agreement since.
Well, when you did have it.
06.
When you
Since
did have,
2007, when it died a natural death.
was there an amount that you can tell us?
At the time, I think the annual we had, it was a 3-year term. There were 3 annual payments. I think it was $100,000 a year, which to Hobart at the time was big bucks. Still is.
So that was, okay, per year.
Yeah. And it was the second year of that 3-year term that the payment to this day was inexplicably and significantly delinquent.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Any other questions for Andrew or Rich?
Well, I probably misspoke. We got the money. We did get the check, but it was significantly delinquent. And by that I mean there was a time certain, I believe, within the service agreement, within the contract, by which these annual payments had to be made. That second annual payment was at least maybe as much as a half a year late. It was months. And it got to be, yes.
I told them they could stay till we go in closed session.
Mayor, can I just add one thing too
Yeah,
before I just want to reiterate that the Village of Hobart as an entity is not a crusader in the way we apply our laws on fee versus trust property or our objections to fee to trust. As Rich said, there's 1,000 or more similarly situated co-located governments around the country, each of them employing various tools successfully, including the ones that we're speaking of today. So this isn't theory solely among the 9 tribal affairs team members in the Village of Hobart. These are proven methods around the country that our local governments are using to help defend their jurisdiction and their tax base. So I just wanted to kind of reiterate that. We're not out on an island.
Alderman Slotnick? Hang on.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, at this point, as we heard Village President Heidel indicate earlier, they believe that the next portion of the presentation coming from Attorney Kolakowski should be done in closed session, so I move that we go into closed session to get the remainder of the information.
All right, so with that, Alderman Slotnick, we just ask for the record that you read why the council is moving into closed session, and that's on the last page of
Certainly,
your
the council
agenda.
may convene in closed session pursuant to Section 19.85, Sub 1, Sub E, Wisconsin statutes for purposes of deliberating or negotiating the sale of public properties, investing in public funds, or conducting other specified public business as necessary for competitive or bargaining reasons, or pursuant to Section 19.85, Sub 1, Sub G, for purposes of conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or likely to become involved. The council may thereafter reconvene in open session pursuant to Section 19.85, Sub 2 Wisconsin statutes to report the results of the closed session and consider the balance of the agenda.
So with that, we have the motion by Alderman Slotnick. I would need a second by someone. Second by Alderman Randy Scannell. If you just use the board on this, this is to move into closed session. If this is a positive vote, then senior staff, you guys can go back to work or home, whatever. We're okay with going. We got to impress these Hobart guys. Yeah, we go back to work. And then for the people who are here, we're make some comments when we're done.
Andy?
Okay, so that passes on a vote of 10 to 2. So we're going to be moving to closed session, and what's that? Or no? So you're welcome to stay, but we're going to come out, and I don't know that no action is going to be taken. That's not what's on the agenda, but I will see you guys tomorrow. Let me hit pause.
Okay, Jerry, let's sit down so we can get out
Yeah.
of here.
All right, I want to
Brian? Where's everybody?
return to regular order, Brian.
Yes, sorry. Yes.
Nope.
Second.
Move to return to regular order?
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second to return to regular order. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nays. Ayes have it. We are back in regular session.
Make a motion, Your Honor, to receive and place on file the presentation. Second.
All right, so we have a motion by Alderman Tom Dwayne, seconded by Alderman Joe Moore, to receive and place on file the information that was discussed in our closed session and use that for further reference. So is a motion and a second on that. Alderman Weary, did you want to speak to that? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to thank Hobart and the representatives for coming tonight. It was very informational, a lot of good factual information. I'm disappointed the tribe wasn't here for whatever reason. I do think that if we meet with them, it needs to be here. It's our invitation. So that, I'm not traveling anywhere. It should be here. Thanks.
All right, thank you. And Alderman Nicholson?
Thank you, Mayor. Question, what are we going to do with this? I mean, future reference, are we going to...
Are we back in session?
Yes. Should we have a separate communication on what we would want to discuss?
Well, I think
or-
the instruction from the council was to get the service agreement is on hold right now, right?
Okay.
We don't have one.
So it's still there, it's not...
No, it's not there.
We have one more discussion.
We have one more discussion?
With Oneida.
And you'd asked that we meet with the Village of Hobart, which we've
Correct.
done tonight, and that we also meet with the Oneida tribe.
Okay, then we go from there then
And-
with all the information.
Right.
Okay, sounds good, Mayor.
So that's what you're...
That's my
Thank you.
motion.
All right. So with that, we have a motion second to receive and place on file as discussed. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'd like the general consensus of the council, I guess, or I'll make a motion to once again, invite the Oneida tribe to come over, but to have the meeting here.
Okay.
That'd be
I
my
got that.
motion.
I heard that.
Second. So we all...
What would be the difference?
They had invited us over there.
But do we have some disadvantage by going there?
Yes.
I'm just saying.
Can I just do the one thing first, and then we'll do that?
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second by Alderman Dwayne and seconded by Alderman Wisniewski to receive and place on file the information we gathered in the closed session to use for further negotiation. All in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nays. The ayes have it. Now, Alderman Weary, this is regarding the instruction to meet with the Oneida tribe, which is the next thing you've tasked us to do.
It's unfortunate they weren't here tonight, so I would just make a motion that we resend out the invitation and have them meet here.
I second.
So we have a motion by Alderman Weary and seconded by Alderman Mark Stoyer to, again, invite the Oneida tribe, but under the condition that it's at City Hall during a council meeting. Is that, okay?
Yep.
All right, so with that, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nay. All right, the ayes have it. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
By Alderman Scannell, second by Alderman Tim Dwayne. All in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nays. Ayes have it.
Good one.
Yeah,
I will, yeah. Oh, you don't like me?
No, I like your dad. I don't say like you. I just I like your dad.
Caught you off.